Welcome back to 33 Dreams of Indy. I'm your host, Robert Earl, and today I'm excited to be joined by Kory Enders, driver of the DEForce Racing entry in the Indy Pro 2000 series. Kory, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you, Robert?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for asking. Just want to jump right in. A little recap of Portland. I know you would like to forget about race number one because you were a victim of the Juncos teammate on teammate crime that occurred in turn one that caught you up, but started 10th, rallied back to 11th. Let's talk a little bit more about how your race went in race number two.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't, Portland was a tough weekend for us because we went there last year with my teammate Moy and got very little data. So we were kind of backpedaling the whole weekend, just to clarify. So we didn't really nail the setup for either of the two races. So race two went a little bit better. Another hectic start, turn one just creates just incredible spectating views for the viewers, but horrible racing conditions for the drivers. So, that charge into turn one's pretty tough. I got pushed out on the exit of turn two, trying to go around the outside of the chaos of the apex there at one. So that didn't really work out. So I kind of got pushed to the back a little bit. I thought I had wing damage, but I didn't, and was able to race my way back. I don't actually remember where I finished in that race.
You rallied back to 10th, and what I kept track of, and it's something I've touched upon a couple of times on the Road to Indy series, is what are your laps looking like past the halfway point when the car has equalized, the tires have come in, fuel's burned off a little bit. I myself had you noted that lap 21, 22, and 24, you set your personal fast lap of the race. And actually, that would have ranked you, I think, on my calculations, the sixth fastest lap of the race. So really a way to recover once you got a little bit of clean air and were able to get going and rally back to 10th.
Yeah, definitely. And I do remember that I was catching Jacob Abel and Nikita Listoshkin as well. And right there at the end, I think I was a 10th off them at the line.
Yeah.
I got a good exit out of 12 and I kind of pushed the exit there. But it was, the car is really consistent all throughout the race. I have to say that. We didn't experience a huge tire fall off at the end like a lot of other teams do. But we also didn't have the fastest car. So I'd say we were just somewhere in between that safe zone of being averagely fast and not having the peak in the tire in the beginning, because we started with one fresh new rear left or a new rear left. And that kind of helped us in corners like turn 4, turn 7, where we really had to lean on the rear left of that car. So that was nice to have for the race. But, I think going into Laguna, like you talked about, we're going to take an adapted setup of our Portland setup a little bit and try to work with that to accommodate to the low grip levels that Laguna Seca offers. Because we were testing there in the Skip Barber cars at the I don't know what series that was. It was some like low level training that was just a good way to get some track time in the not the Indy Pro 2000, but an open wheel car. So we found out that the grip levels are pretty low there. So we're going to try to accommodate to that.
Yeah, and that seat time is always so important for that road to Indy. Talk to me a little bit about seat time that you get outside of the time that you're there. And I can also use this as an opportunity. I love to give drivers like yourself an opportunity to give a shout out to the sponsors. So maybe you could blend the two of them together and talk about your sponsors. And I like to use the term, might be dating myself, but no Buck Rogers, to be able to put the car on the track. So give a shout out to your sponsors and then talk about what you do with your seat time when you're not actually at the racetrack with an Indy Pro 2000 car.
Yeah, so I don't do a whole lot of other racing series. The only ones that I am planning on doing are F4 in Mexico and the NACAM F4 series, and the singular race at Circuit of the Americas in early September with F1 and the US F4 series.
Okay.
So those are the only two races I planned. DEForce as a team, though, is soon to join the LMP3 series.
Okay.
So we have one of those cars at our home track in MSR Houston. and here in Texas. So we're planning on getting me in that car soon,
Okay.
probably during the off season when I have a little bit more time to spare. But most of the time, Robert, I spend on my sim. Actually, the reason I'm slightly late to this meeting is because I was on the simulator. My coach and I were testing at Laguna Seca and R Factor since
Okay.
they put the new Indy Pro 2000 cars in there. So I set up a server and we were running there.
Fantastic. Well, see, you need to go faster, and then you'll be on. No,
Exactly.
but that's the whole intention of it, and getting the feedback. How much are you doing with your sponsors out on the track and working with customers? I know that that's something that maybe folks aren't as familiar with, or they haven't listened in as your story regarding that.
Yeah. So I have two main sponsors that I work on track with, and it's Mercedes-Benz of Sugarland and McLaren Houston. So they do quarterly track events at MSR Houston and sometimes Circuit of the Americas here in Austin, where our customers basically come out to the racetrack and they either own a car or they're looking to buy one. Either way, they can be not so familiar with it or completely familiar with it, and they're perfectly fine to come to this track event. I'll take a new coming person to McLaren. Let's just use McLaren as a example. If they've never heard of a McLaren before, I'll take them in the car, walk them around the car a little bit, kind of tell them the specs and how great those cars really are. And then I'll prove it to them I'll take them for 4 or 5 hot laps on the track and really show them what that does. And I like to say these cars sell themselves on the racetrack. I mean, they really do. It's one thing to see it in a showroom or to drive on the highway with it. That's cool. But you go on the racetrack and you really experience what a road legal race car can do. It's just phenomenal. So that's something I work with McLaren a lot, and that has a lot of success.
Mercedes, and if you're going to make that sort of investment, making a trip as well to see what you're investing in, how get some points, some tips, because when you're buying into that, whether it be the Mercedes or the McLaren, many times at the level that you're taking on the track, you're buying into a bit of a lifestyle. You're going to be taking that out to your club track of VIR or something along that line. So it's great to get that type of experience and have somebody that's actually actively racing to be able to do that with them.
Absolutely. And people love to buy these cars and then they have no idea about the racing world, and then they just get completely absorbed in it. As our world tends to grab people by the horns and pull them straight in. So it's really cool to actually show people that for their first time. They have no idea about racing and then they get into it. I've had a couple guys actually join the SCCA and buy some Mazdas and do some of that club level racing, because you can't drive a McLaren on the track all the time.
No.
If that's your road car, you can't beat the hell out of it all the time.
No,
so.
but it gives you that opportunity to get the exposure, and it's great that your sponsors are backing you and being able to go through it. So I always like to, like I say, give the shout out to them and be able to go through it. You are a unique individual in that you came to this a little bit later, but you take a very analytical approach to the racing, and I got to share a personal experience in being able to follow you. We're going to talk about a high note of following you to the podium after that fantastic race. If the NTT IndyCar Series hadn't put on a great show on Saturday night, the Indy Pro 2000 Series at Gateway was the race of the weekend up to that point. A lot better even than the K&N combined series. And the show you put on of leading, being able to hold on to the second place behind Kyle Kirkwood, and then that dicing back and forth as that restart kind of caught you at third. I saw an adrenaline level that you had as you were walking from the track to it, and you talk about the sim. How do you handle that from a mental standpoint, but how do you recreate that situation where you're getting the heart rate up and you were in I wouldn't say unfamiliar territory, but it's a situation where you can't really recreate that on a sim, I would imagine.
Honestly, it's never the same. Obviously, it's not the same as being in real life and being with all those people and having that champagne sprayed in your face. That's an awesome thing. But I have to say, when I do online races like in iRacing or mostly iRacing is where I do my online racing. But when I'm queued up, like when I do a full race situation, like where you do the practice, qualifying, and then you qualify and pole in the race, and then you're sitting there waiting for all the other drivers to load into the race.
Yeah.
It's like, you're like, wow, this is actually like a real race, you know, and I have my 3 monitors set up, and all these guys are really good. I mean, there's a lot of talented people in iRacing. So it does recreate like some of those emotions that you feel, like the fear before the race and those final laps where you're just trying to make consistent laps and get it to the end. The tires are dying. And then when you finally cross the line and everyone shows their appreciation in the chat, you know, like, great race. It's very similar. You know, I think it's the next best thing you can get than actually doing it in real life, for sure.
Yeah, but I could just tell, and that's from the years of coaching and performance, those types of things. There was a level there that I hope you savor, because it was fantastic to see you succeed from that standpoint and be able to soak it in. So that was real nice to see, and we look for you to replicate that many times as you come up. Laguna Seca, you've been there testing in a different type of car, obviously, and the low grip level. What are you expecting to see there? You know, you're solidly 7th in points, and I'm sure you're looking to add on to the points there. But what's your approach towards that weekend?
You know, every time I calculate an approach to a weekend and try to premeditate what's going to happen, it never really goes my way. So what I've been doing recently, and something I did at Gateway and at the Gateway test prior to the actual weekend, is I just kind of went out there and I didn't expect anything from the car. I didn't expect anything from the team or myself. I just went out there and drove and forgot about everyone else and saw where we were. And then you have to take that and, like, there's only one way you can get better and get faster. And it's if you get faster yourself. You know, no one else is going to get slower around you. Don't worry about everyone else. Just try to better yourself. And that's something I've been doing. So I think that's my approach to Laguna. I'm going to show up there and with an open mind, open eyes, and try to take in all the information that I can. And I'm very familiar with that track. That track is a very soft spot in my heart. I think I said that during the interview you were there for in Gateway. But I think that's going to work for us because we know we're quick there. I actually won a national class race there in Indy Pro. I'm used to that now. Pro Mazda back in 2016. So I think we have the pace to do it. I think we do.
Fantastic. You know, that fits into it. Chess. Tell me about chess.
Yeah, I've got my chess set right over there, actually.
Okay.
I love chess. I've been playing it since I was a senior in high school, so I started a little late. But I've done so much with it now. I mean, it's taught me so much about mentality and, like, just how to control yourself and premeditate moves and think about everything that you need to be thinking about. It's just one of those games, you know, that you can't get an experience like it anywhere else. It's so complicated, but so simple to the average eye. There's so many things you can think about and plan, and so many different strategies. It's just like racing, and that's why I actually did an entire segment with Chess Magazine about why chess is so similar to racing, and it's that you can take a aggressive approach, or you can take a slow, calculated approach. And I think there's a lot of drivers that do just that. You know, like Scott Dixon, he does such a calculated, slow style approach. And then you have someone like Colton Herta or Joseph Newgarden, who are just always balls to the wall racing, which is great. And both are good in different scenarios, but chess is about mastering when to do which of those scenarios you need to do when. So, and I think the racing is the same thing. So the better I get at chess and the better I get at racing, the better I get at the other as well.
Yeah, and it's a completely different segment of the mind, and I think that youngsters, we're talking about grade school, etc., but here I would be king for a day, should have that type of exposure, but we all should have exposure to balancing a checkbook and doing a lot of things that school doesn't really fit us for. It took me many years in a career to finally figure that out, and what do I want to be when I grow up, and to look at those types of things. Don't want you to give away anything, reveal anything, but how excited are you for the off season?
Very, very excited. I, this has been a tough season for us. A lot of doubt was put in my mind midway through the season, especially at Road America when we were having engine troubles. But I think we've got the key to the problem, the solution, and that's something we're going to be implementing over the off season. We have got quite a few test dates lined up at some tracks that we're going to be going to. And I also have those 2 races in Mexico and here in Austin. So I'm feeling pretty prepared. And I'm also going to be doing quite a lot of sim work in the off season, as well as testing at our home track. So a lot of things to be done in the off season. A lot of driving is going to be done, but also a lot of relaxing and traveling. So
That's good.
a little bit of everything. A little bit of everything.
It can be hectic, and having that downtime is very, very important as well. But also building that notebook, because your analytical background will really lead towards being a valuable teammate as well, with that baseline for folks to come back. And that's just my observations of being around. I have no idea how to make the car do what you get it to do. Yet when you see enough laps, you can point at something and say, yeah, there's the key, or there's something that goes onto it, and that notebook that goes in there. I appreciate you taking time to join us today. I love telling the stories of the dreamers, those that look to be one of the coveted 33 one day in Indy. Not everybody gets to do that. It's different paths that go into it, but you and DEForce definitely have plans to progress up through the ranks, and it's nice to have the backing of that team, and your partnership with them is really showing as it comes through to go into it. So I'd love to catch up with you after Laguna Seca, a little bit fresher recap on it. And then we touch base a couple times over the off season, let folks know more about you and the opportunities that you have available, and would love to do that.
Definitely. And thank you so much for having me on the show, Robert.
You got it. I appreciate it so much. And where's that beautiful view that you have in the background? Are you in Houston or Austin?
Oh no, I'm in Austin. This is my my new condo in Austin that I just recently purchased. I've been dabbling in the real estate investment world. Okay. So kind of touching on what you said, because it meant a lot to me about in school, they don't teach you how to balance a checkbook, or what goes into buying a piece of real estate, or doing anything that adults do, or that you will have to do as an adult. I really wish they taught things like that. And, that's something that I wish I could change, and maybe I might sometime in the future.
Might be something that also is a introductory class. I don't know if they do it in the Road to Indy series, of folks to kind of get that exposure to what do you have to look out for yourself, kind of like the NFL does with the rookie symposium of things to look out for. And you just planted a little seed for me there. And if you need a good after 20 years in real estate, you need anybody to bounce some ideas off of, can draw upon that notebook that I have from that standpoint. And love Austin, Texas, and look to see you down there next year as start covering the series on the ground. So appreciate you taking the time. Go get them at Laguna Seca. Solidify that finish for the season, and we'll touch base after it.
Great. Thank you so much again, Robert.
You bet. I appreciate Kory taking the time out of his schedule as he prepares to go into it. Keep your eyes on Kory. He's one to watch. And until next time, keep dreaming. Hope you enjoyed this video from 33 Dreams of Indy. It would mean the world to me if you would click subscribe so that you can be notified of any new videos that come along.